widespread world of information technology. It was during this time my father, Professor V.C. Malshe, a scientist from UD City, along with Mr. Rajan Raje, a business owner, started developing and manufacturing specialty products. The idea was to commercialize these products and also help society. But due to unavoidable circumstances and advancing age, the entire concept was taking time. In the year 2014, I decided to quit my job and join them. This led to the inception of Nichem, a company that provides niche chemicals to the industrial sector in a promising manner. Today, we are leading manufacturer of specialty chemicals worldwide. We soon structured our company in 4 verticals: polymer additives, water purification chemicals, agrochemicals, and also consumer products. Consumer products is close to our heart because that's the proof of our concepts, proof of our technologies. During COVID, we had to reinvent and reimagine our business. In the beginning, we were worried as there was no business coming. But we quickly found our niche and not only started manufacturing sanitizer, but we also invented an antiviral product which can be used in polymer, water purification, at the same time can be coated on fabric. At Nichem, the mission is to walk parallel to nature, give back to the community, and also contribute to the economy as a whole. That's why our products have zero harmful chemicals, zero discharge, and also no imports. We hold privilege in working with global brands and customers. Their trust and confidence in us is all the motivation that we need to create great solutions to their problem. With the virtues of quality, innovation, and competence, Nichem aims to cater to its customers with proven solutions.
Good afternoon and welcome back to day 2 of the MSME Conclave, Empowering MSMEs. Let us now begin with the first session for the evening, which is panel discussion on government schemes for export promotions of the MSMEs. The moderator for today's session is Dr. Vinod Chopra, Managing Director, Sai Industrial Alliance Private Limited, and Co-Chair, MSME Forum, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Our panel member for today's session are Mr. Abhijit Ghorpade, GM Marketing Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation, MIDC, Mr. Nikhil Patil, GEM Business Facilitator, Maharashtra State, and Mr. Mihir Shah, Advisor, Consultant, and Trainer in International Business Partner, Universal Connections LLP. May I now request Dr. Chopra to please take over and begin with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tarini. A very good afternoon to one and all present here for the second day of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industries MSME Conclave. This is the third session on empowering MSMEs. I warmly welcome all the participants and speakers. We have a very distinguished panel speakers and members today who will be discussing about various government schemes for setting up of business in MIDC, marketing on the government e-marketplace, that is GEM portal, and the export promotion and internationalization of MSMEs. After the panel speakers presentation, there will be a Q&A session. These question and answers the questions can be put up on the question box, whereby the participants can post the question and queries in the Q&A box on the right hand side, and perhaps we can take the query after the session of the 3 speakers are done. So I take it forward here. Our first panel is a renowned Deputy Collector of Maharashtra State Government and has commenced the state service in 1999, 23 years from now. He has Masters in Arts in Politics. He's a Masters in International Development Policy and a postgraduate in Law, LLM in International Law from reputed universities in India and abroad. He is presently the General Manager, Marketing and Public Relations at MIDC, the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation. He has served the state and the country for more than 20 years, where he has worked as Resident Deputy Collector and Additional District Magistrate of Ratnagiri District, Additional Chief Lands and Survey Officer of City and Industrial Development Corporation of Maharashtra. He was the OSD to the Honorable Minister for Cooperation, Relief and Rehabilitation. As far as I remember, he was the private secretary to the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra and many more. He was felicitated as the best revenue officer on the Revenue Day and received award for administrative excellence for his water conservation work on the Maharashtra Foundation Day. He was in the Maharashtra delegation to inaugurate the Maharashtra Pavilion at the World Expo Dubai. And without further ado, I would now like to honor to present the Honorable Mr. Abhijit Gorpade to please open up the session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chopra, for that very generous introduction. A very good afternoon to you all. Let me at the outset express my heartfelt thanks and a sense of gratitude towards the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industries, to Mr. Sunil Nair and his team for inviting me to be a part of this August gathering. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be a part of an event organized by one of the oldest chambers of commerce in the country, with a history, I believe, of about 185 years. I congratulate the Bombay Chamber of Commerce for organizing a session on empowering the MSMEs. Simply because the MSMEs are the backbone of Indian economy. They contribute, as you are aware, about 30% to the national GDP and account for almost 42% to the employment generation. MSMEs also contribute towards decentralization of economic wealth and power, thereby promoting the value of equitable growth. And especially post-COVID times, I believe we are out of COVID now. But during the COVID-induced lockdown, MSMEs had to suffer and bear the biggest brunt of the pandemic due to lockdown, with the disruption in supply chain. So the theme of the conclave is all the more relevant, which is empowering the MSMEs. You know, Maharashtra is the most industrialized state in India. It's an engine of India's economic growth. Contributes 14% to the national GDP, 15% to the national industrial output, and 21% to India's exports. It's also the most preferred investment destination.
Mr. Abhijit, can I please just butt in for a minute? I think there is the voice is cracking. Can you just check your mic settings?
Vincent, will you? I'll wait for a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Mic. Okay. Well, I believe my mic system is all right. So do I continue?
No, not yet. The voice is still cracking.
Is it?
I suggest we can wait for some time till he comes back. And in meanwhile, can we take on to the next participant so that we can take Mr. Abhijit as soon as he's back? And I would like to move on to the second panel speaker till the time Mr. Abhijit comes back. We'll take him after that. So the second panel speaker for today's session is the brilliant young GEM business facilitator for Maharashtra State. He is in fact associated with GEM, as far as I know, for the last 4.5 years. He has done his MBA in Marketing and Finance from Mumbai University. And Mr. Patil has more than 14 years of experience. He is taking care of state government, central government, CPSUs, rails, autonomous bodies, and sellers in Maharashtra state, most of them MSMEs. He has conducted more than 500 trainings throughout Maharashtra. I am happy to present to you Mr. Nikhil Patil, GEM Business Facilitator, Maharashtra State Government. Mr. Nikhil, please come on stage.
Very good afternoon to all. Extremely sorry that my screen is not visible. I'm just sharing my presentation. Just wait for a moment. I believe my presentation is visible to all. Can anyone please confirm?
Yes, please go on.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Chopra sir, for inviting me for the session and the for the my introduction. Okay. Uh, so let's talk about GEM. So I'll just start with the overview of GEM. So GEM is basically initiative of our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi sir. You can see the wordings on the screen. The government is committed to curb the corruption. One of the key aspect of this objects to minimize government human transaction interference. So basically, this portal is created to reduce the corruptions. Okay, so it's a one-stop online procurement portal for all government buyers, like central, state, ministries, PSUs, bodies, etc. सो इट्स लॉन्च ऑन 9th अगस्त 2016. सो लगभग हम लोगों ने 5 साल कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं. You can note down the URL at www.gm.gov.in. According to Rule 149 of GFR, that is General Financial Rule, it's amended that a procurement of goods and services by ministry or department will be mandatory for goods or services available on GEM. As I said, so that's the reason it's a one-stop procurement portal कि जो भी products और services portal पे available है आपको mandatory है इस portal से ही आपको buy करने होंगे. इसमें direct purchase है, आपको L1 purchase होगा, bidding is available, forward auction, reverse auction, both the things are now available. Basically, it's a cashless, contactless, and paperless portal. As you can see on the screen, this is a map of India. Almost all the states have signed an MOU with GEM, and they are actively buying on the GEM platform. On the right hand side, you can see these are the banks which have signed an MOU with GEM, like Axis Bank, SDFC Bank, RL Bank. I say why I'm telling this bank, because जब भी आपका bank guarantee या EPBG आता है, you can go through this. You can refer this bank which have signed an MOU with GEM. On the left hand side, you can see the association with have a tie up with GEM, like EMA, PhD Chambers, CII, right, SIDBI, FICCI, etc. And we also have a partner with we have association like MSME, MCA 21, PFMS, and Aadhaar. Moving on to the next slide, this is very important. You can see the current statistics of GEM. So currently there are more than 59,000 buyer organization registered on GEM platform throughout India. Currently, more than 40 lakhs sellers and service providers are available. Products are more than 53 lakhs, and total number of orders till now, that is 98 lakhs. And till now, the transaction on the GEM platform since inception, that is 2,29,787. I'd be glad to say that last year we have done 1 lakh crore in only single financial year, out of which Maharashtra state, I'm not talking about central government, Maharashtra states have done 20 to 60 crores, that is 2,260 crores, out of which MSC has done 64%, that is 1,260 crores only through MSME. The percentage of MSME is very high on the GEM platform. Even if you talk about service providers, out of 40 lakhs, almost 7 lakh 50,000 MSCs, sorry, not vendors are from the Maharashtra state. So Maharashtra state's vendors and service providers actively participating in GEM platform. Sorry. On GEM portal, we have various methods of procurement for the buyer. Like direct purchase, we have limit of 25,000. In case of vehicles, there is a limit of 30 lakhs rupees, but now it has been increased. In case of L1 purchase, buyer has to compare the three brands in between the price of 25,000 to 5 lakhs rupees. More than 5 lakhs rupees, buyer has to go for a bid. There are two types of bid. One is normal bid and one is PAC, packed bid. The difference is that a bid, normal bid is only restricted for the specification. PSC bid specification plus make and model. If buyer wants to go for a below 5 lakh rupees for the bid, he can select an option intent of buying and go for it. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट ऑन द स्क्रीन द हायरार्की ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन. जब आप जेम पोर्टल पे रजिस्टर करते हैं तो आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जो प्राइमरी यूजर है वो यहाँ पे रजिस्टर होते हैं. सो हु विल बी द प्राइमरी यूजर? जिनके भी आईटीआर पे, आपके जो कंपनी का आईटीआर होते हैं, जो सिग्नेटरी अथॉरिटी है, वही यहाँ पे जेम पे प्राइमरी यूजर बन सकते हैं. सो जस्ट मेक अ नोट, जब आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, आपके कंपनी हो या प्रोप्राइटरशिप हो, अगर आपके आईटीआर पे जो भी सिग्नेटरी अथॉरिटी है वही यहाँ पे प्राइमरी यूजर बनेंगे. once he registered he has an option, it's only a choice कि वो अपने अकाउंट से सेकेंडरी यूजर बना सकते हैं. अगर उनकी कंपनी की साइज बड़ी है और उनके पास स्टाफ अवेलेबल है तो वो अपने रोल्स उनको असाइन कर सकते हैं, लाइक बिड पार्टिसिपेशन, प्रोडक्ट अपलोड, प्रोसेसिंग ऑर्डर एंड पेमेंट कंफर्मेशन. दिस इज ओनली अ चॉइस. अगर एक प्रोप्राइटर है वो खुद ही सारी चीजें करना चाहता है, सो ही कैन प्ले ऑल द रोल्स. देयर इज नो रिक्वायर्ड टू क्रिएट अ सेकेंडरी यूजर. We have incident option available. If you have any complaints or any issue, you can raise the incident from your account itself. An incident team of GEM will get back to you for the all the solutions. Kindly note the prerequisite for registration. When you are registering first time, what are the options are available? You can register with either Aadhaar or either personal PAN. Okay, in terms of Aadhaar, you need to have a linked mobile number with that Aadhaar, because you will receive an OTP on that. If you are using personal PAN, you have to use a personal PAN, not a company PAN. अगर आपका कंपनी है तो भी आपको personal PAN initially यूज करना होगा. आपका एक एक्टिव email ID होना चाहिए. Documents as per the constitution type such as CIN, PAN, DIPP, ITR details to complete the profile. Address detail जो आपके ITR पे होता है as it is आपको enter करना होगा. Then only system will validate that. You can enter the number of, आप बैंक डिटेल्स ज्यादा भी डाल सकते हैं, 5-6 whatever you want, but you have to make one bank account as a primary account. As I said कि आप अपने अकाउंट से सेकेंडरी यूजर बना सकते हैं. दिस इज ऑप्शनल. इफ यू वांट यू कैन. उनका भी आधार से लिंक मोबाइल नंबर. इफ यू आर यूजिंग पर्सनल पैन तो पर्सनल पैन के थ्रू आप उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन कर सकते हैं. उनका भी एक एक्टिव ईमेल आईडी होना मैंडेटरी होगा. I'll just quickly go through the key notes while registering on the GEM platform. A registration on GEM should be done by an authorized person, as I said, that is ITR signatory authority. Details of the authorized person will get validated as per the income tax return file. If you put it all correct information, a system will by default validate it. Primary seller have an option to create secondary sellers to assign a role like bid participation, creation of catalog and order fulfillment. For MSC, Udyog Aadhaar memorandum mobile number linked with the same is required. For startup, DIPP number and mobile number linked with the same is required. अगर आप buyer आप product भी sell कर रहे हो, services भी sell कर रहे हैं, no need to create a different account. On a single account, you can play both the roles. I'll just quickly go through the registration process. आपको जेम पोर्टल पे जाना है, that is www.gem.gov.in. After that, you have to click on the sign up option. In sign up, you'll get an option called सेलर. सेलर में आपको टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन आपको पढ़नी है. उसके बाद आपको यहाँ पे नीचे चेक बॉक्स में टिक मार्क करना है that I have read and agreed to the terms and condition of GEM. Then after that you have to select the organization type, that is proprietorship, firm, company, whatever you have. In terms of partnership, you can select the firm. You have to enter the organization name. Kindly note, when you are putting organization name, you cannot edit afterwards, so be careful while putting the organization name. Like as I said, you have option 2. मतलब आपके पास दो ऑप्शन होंगे that you can register with आधार और either personal PAN. दोनों में से नहीं करना है, either आधार or either personal PAN. So I'll give you the example of आधार. तो आपको आधार नंबर एंटर करना होगा. आधार से लिंक मोबाइल नंबर. Then you have to click on a verify आधार. If it is linked to the आधार number, then you will receive an OTP on your mobile number. Within 10 minutes of time, you have to enter the OTP. Then you have to click on the verify button. By default from Aadhaar server, it will fetch होके आपका नाम वहाँ पे show हो जाएगा. You can see on the screen Rashmi Sharma. You have to confirm that you are the key person. What do you mean by key person? जो आपके ITR पे signatory authority है, उन्हीं के नाम से registration हो रहा है, right? After that, you have to enter your email ID. You will receive an OTP on this email ID to verify it. Once you click on a verify OTP, your email ID got successfully verified. After that, you'll get an option to create a user ID and password. User ID you can create by any name except your personal name and company name. Password, it has to be one uppercase, one lowercase, one numeric, and one special character. Minimum 8 and maximum 18, 16 character. So it's very simple to create a account on the GEM platform by using Aadhaar or PAN, email ID. That's it. Then you can create an account on GEM platform. Right. So apart from this, we also have some benefits for the MSMEs, like exemption in terms of EMD. Now government of India already provided a notification that you will get exempted till 2023. EPPG will be 3%. In GEM platform, while creating a bid, we have already added the MSC clauses like 15% clause and all. Even we have a direct purchase. In case of direct purchase, we have MSC filters directly available to the buyer, so buyer can directly filter out up to 5 lakhs rupees and can buy it from the MSC vendors. Also, buyer has an option to opt for turnover and experience certificate. अगर उनको bid करते समय experience और turnover के certificate को exemption वो दे सकते हैं आपको, even for the startups. So these are the benefits you have in terms of MSCs. We generally create a conducts the classrooms and trainings. I just want to say that all the trainings model, all the material is available on the GEM platform in training option. You can refer to the LMS option on the GEM platform for attendance purpose or attendance. You can select the sailor and you can get the certificate of GEM. You can refer to us on our call center number, that is 1800-102-3436, 1800-419-3436. You can reach out to our helpdesk team like helpdesk-gm@gov.in. These are helpdesk email ID. If you have any queries, you can refer to FAQs available on GEM.com. For each topic, we have FAQs in terms of registration, in terms of profile update, in terms of product upload or bid participation or invoice generation, etc. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, for a wonderful presentation and a deep insight. We are moving on to our first panel member, Mr. Abhijit Gorpade, Deputy Collector of Maharashtra State Government and General Manager, MIDC, Marketing and Public Relations. Mr. Abhijit Gorpade.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chopra, once again. So, having explained the importance of MSMEs in the national economy and relevance of holding a conclave on the theme of empowering the MSMEs in the post-COVID era, let me explain uh, where to put Maharashtra in the national context. Uh, as you are aware, Maharashtra is the most industrialized state in India. It is an engine of India's economic growth. It contributes 14% to the national GDP, 15% to national industrial output, and 21% to India's exports. It is also the most preferred destination for investment, especially for the foreign direct investment. So much so that the country attracted almost 30% of the state attracted 30% of India's cumulative FDI since the year 2000. Maharashtra has adopted a model of infrastructure-led growth. You're all aware that it is endowed with certain inherent strengths. State capital Mumbai is India's financial capital. The state has a long coastline of 720 kilometers. It has two major ports, the BPT and the JNPT, and 53 minor ports. It has 5 international airports and 13 domestic airports. Currently, the major infrastructural works which are underway include the Mumbai Coastal Road in order to ease the traffic congestion in Mumbai, the Navi Mumbai International Airport, which is aimed at decongesting the Mumbai airport, the 22-kilometer long Nhava Sheva Sivri MTHLC link, which would open the entire hinterland of Raipur district for industrial development, the Mumbai Nagpur Samruddhi Highway, which is an 8-lane expressway, the entire distance of 702 kilometers between Mumbai and Nagpur can be traveled within 7 hours. It is also conceived as communications e-way with electric charging stations dotting along the road. There are about 19 industrial townships planned along the Samruddhi highway. So that would be truly uh, a gateway to Vidarbha's prosperity. It would connect the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor on the one hand and the Western freight corridor on the other. Now, the first phase of 521 kilometers between Nagpur and Shirdi has been completed, and the second phase would be completed by this time next year. Fourthly, there's a new port coming up at Vadhavan near Dahanu in Palghar district, as a part of JNPT's expansion. JNPT, as you know, is the largest port in the country, which handles over 50% of cargo of the country. It is currently the 28th largest port in the world. And once the fourth terminal of JNPT is constructed by 2024, it will become the 17th largest port in the world. You are aware that currently 7 out of 10 ports in the world are Chinese. And after the Vadhavan post becomes operational, JNPT would rank amongst the top 10 ports in the world. Then, of course, there are the works related to metros in Mumbai, Pune, Nasik, and Nagpur. So all these infrastructural works would propel industrial development of the state in the long run. Now, what is Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation? That is MIDC's role in Maharashtra's industrial development. MIDC was formed under a special act to bring about a balanced industrial development of the state. It has a twofold mandate. Firstly, to develop industrial infrastructure in terms of road, water, sewage, electricity. MIDC allows these developed industrial plots to the investors. And the second objective is to promote investment in the state. Now, MIDC has 289 industrial estates spread across 225,000 acres of land, and we have built IT parks, textile parks, silver parks, food parks, wine parks, floriculture parks over these areas. And there are also special economic zones developed by MIDC. Now, MIDC operates as a special planning authority for all its industrial areas. It is also the Government of India's, Government of Maharashtra's official investment promotion agency. I'm proud to say that, and Dr. Chopra, he was there at Dubai when we were participating in the World Expo, is aware that in spite of the COVID pandemic, in the last 2 years, MIDC could ink MOUs with 98 companies worth 1,89,000 crores. And these are expected to generate employment for about 3 lakh people. Under the Magnetic Maharashtra 2.0, in order to promote ease of doing business, the state has launched new initiatives such as Plug and Play, which would avail state-of-the-art infrastructure at affordable rate in the form of rental shares. We have the Mahajobs portal, which is a digital employment portal connecting employment seekers with employment providers by matching over 900 skill sets across 17 sectors. We have the Mahaparavana, which is a single window clearance portal to facilitate permissions within a stipulated period of time. We have also appointed dedicated relationship managers and executives for all the major investors to help them throughout their investment cycle. We have set up country desks for all our major investor countries to guide, help, and support foreign investors, to answer their queries, address their concerns, and redress their grievances. Several new industrial projects are planned in the state. Prominent amongst them are the Bird Drug Park at Salab in Raigad district, Medical Devices Park in Auric, that is Aurangabad University, integrated textile parks at Amravati and Navapur in Nandurbar, the electronic manufacturing cluster at Ranjangaon in Pune, electronic city in Talegaon, and high-tech engineering city at Mangaon. The Government of India has recently launched the Gati Shakti program, which aims at integrating infrastructure with industrial development through a single online portal. It will further improve the business ecosystem and provide support for cluster-based development. And since MSMEs are an integral part of supply chain of several anchor units, this integration would definitely help MSMEs. Both the Government of Maharashtra and Government of India are committed to providing attractive incentives and reducing regulatory compliance burden for the MSMEs. There is a dedicated Ministry of MSMEs with Government of India, which is partnering with the World Bank to fund MSME programs in 5 states, including our own state, Maharashtra. The program is called the RAMP, Raising and Accelerating MSME Performance. Maharashtra also leads in the disbursement of loans under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. So, keeping in mind the importance of MSMEs, the state government has designed incentive package for the growth of MSMEs under the industrial policy of 2019. Units with an investment of up to 50 crores of fixed capital investment are eligible for investment promotion subsidy. The limit for fiscal assistance for cluster promotion for MSMEs has been now increased from 5 crores to 10 crores. In every new industrial area, 20% area will be reserved for the MSMEs, and out of these, 20% will be reserved for SC/ST entrepreneurs and 5% for women. In addition to the package scheme of incentives 2019, there are certain standalone incentives focusing on MSMEs to promote quality, competitiveness, research and development, technology upgradation, water and energy conservation, cleaner production measures, and credit ranking. So, as an apex industrial development body for industrial development of the state, we do understand the importance of the MSMEs in the overall development of the state and will definitely continue to strive for their growth by enhancing policy framework and creating a favorable ecosystem even in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vijay, and this was a wonderful and elaborated kind of a discussion. Perhaps a lot of new inputs. There was a little voice issue in between, so I would request you to send a detailed, script of your lecture today, so that that can be circulated to all the participants. It can be, they will get the
Sure,
schemes.
sure.
Thank you so much for
I'll
joining.
do that.
So now we have, thank you once again. I'll be coming back to you for some questions. And the next in panel with us today is an expert advisor, consultant, and trainer in international business partner. He offers consultancy and advisory services in relation to FTPs, that is foreign trade policy, GST, FEMA, RBI, customs, and other subjects related to export and import business. He's a renowned trainer in the field of international business, covering various topics from basic setup, marketing, even government incentives, international trade agreements, and GST for foreign trade. He is an ICC Incoterms 2020 registered trainer in India and also member of the ICC India Working Group in Banking and Finance. Friends, I present to you Mr. Mihir Shah, who will guide us all on export potential for MSMEs of Bombay Chambers of Commerce and others around the world. Mr. Mihir Shah, please. Over to you.
Very good evening, and thank you, Dr. Chopra, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Bombay Chamber, for inviting. It's always a pleasure. Friends, before I start and before I give you my view, let me upfront congratulate each and every exporter. The exporters have tremendously done fantastic job. Last year, you clocked $419.65 billion. I'm sure all of you are aware of the fact that the target was 400 billion, and you could easily achieve it and surpass this target. That's the collective effort of each and every exporter and each and every good manufacturer who would want to now aspire to become a global company. I was looking at the data and just trying to look at the numbers from that, and I realized that the major sectors which have got boosts are leather, food, cereals, textile, plastics, engineering, jute, which I'm certain and I'm very clear are the niche and exclusive areas which are predominantly by the MSME, which practically means that the large contribution of this growth is done by the MSME sector. I happened to also dig in some report where I could see officially that the number of contribution by the MSME is around 40% of the India's exports. Around 6.1% of the manufacturing GDP comes by the MSME, and about 25% of GDP in services comes by the MSME. My previous speakers were speaking on the various topics of online gem portal as well as the Maharashtra government facilities. I also got to see a recent update or a press note by the commerce minister in meanwhile, where he was speaking at one of the other function, and he set up a target for all of you, the exporters, at $1 trillion of export of goods and $1 trillion of export of services by the year 2030. So we have 7 years to achieve this target. Now, friends, why am I putting these numbers? For two very specific reasons. A, to tell my MSME fellow exporters, manufacturers, and companies that the potential which is there in the global market is tremendous. I'm not too sure of you individually, but the ones which I'm aware that they are grown from X to 3X, and now they are doing a quantum leap. International business, global business, and exports from India is on the rise and has a very, very large potential opportunities for each one of you. I don't want to go into the nitty gritties of each and every aspects of what is happening around us, but we are well aware of what's happening in the neighboring areas, whether it is Sri Lanka in the south to China or Pakistan, or even in the a little remote location not far from us, but at the Ukraine and Russia. But this also has an opportunity and doors open for India and Indian goods. I have not had an instance in last 10 to 15 days where exporters telling us that there is some opportunity coming us from these or companies which were earlier procuring goods from these countries and now want to procure from India and Indian exporters. The challenge which I see from an MSME perspective is generally an view or I think a myth that exports is cumbersome, it is tedious, it has a lot of procedural and compliance issues, it has a lot of challenges. Friends, to all my MSME manufacturers, exporters, members of the audience, let me tell you that today compliance in exports is on a click of a button. Today, if you have put this session online and you are on virtual stage, trust me, the government has gone 10 steps ahead of you. Just yesterday, the DGFT has announced a 24 by 7 helpline number and an email ID. I repeat, 24 by 7 for the exports and the exporters. These schemes and incentives are now available to you in a much simpler and a robust manner at a click of a button without going to any or at least move traveling to the governmental departments. Finally, the thing which is the big talk of the town, and I'm sure MSME should take the best advantage, is the new markets which we are developing through the free trade agreements. We're all aware of the India UAE FTA, which is signed, sealed, and done, and positively we should start functioning by 1st of May 2022. And I was looking at the list of the products which is available, and mind you, it is about some 200 odd pages of HSN code line items which are covered. That means understand the detailing which is gone into it. Where in most of the products, 5% duty, which is the duty which UAE levies on Indian exports or Indian goods or any goods, are going to become almost zero. In some, it is going to happen in next 5 years, and in some 10 years. But the potential and the opening is started and will start very soon. The recent India-Australia agreement, which is called as India-Australia ICTA, would also be done will be coming in place very soon. So you read or you get an opportunity to explore the Australia and the New Zealand and the market on that side of the continent. Lastly, let me not miss the free trade agreements which are going to come in near future. We had the Canadian Commerce Minister here in India. We had the UK Prime Minister just yesterday, until yesterday, who was here, and I was probably looking at some news clipping which said an FTA to be signed by Diwali this year. So see the kind of opportunities you are trying to get into, the markets which MSME generally struggles or wants to know. You have an opportunity, you have the tools available, and all of these to MSME are available at a click and a simpler, easier manner. What more you require is just one thing, the thing which you want to take back in this new financial year and to begin your global presence in a simple manner, to remember that the new year you will approach each and every day as an opportunity which is hidden for you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chopra, for inviting me. I hope I have been within my time, and I'll be happy to answer questions and queries for all the participants. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That was a brilliant, brilliant session from you, and very apt and to the point, and absolutely updated, I would say, Mihir. So I would now invite all of the panelists on the stage, and we have questions coming up, and I'll be taking up these questions to all of y'all. So maybe the first question goes to Mr. Abhijit. As to the question is how to set up a factory for manufacturing or service. I'm asking a question from one of our members right from scratch. How do you start? Like, how do you approach MIDC?
Right.
How will Bombay Chamber of Commerce send its member to you directly? And they want to, when he wants to start up a factory of a service or maybe manufacturing, whatever that is not specified. How do you go about it, Mr. Abhijit? Please help us.
Yeah, Dr. Chopra, I hope I'm audible now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, as you know, my department, the department which I head, marketing department, is the single point of contact for all the investor interface between MIDC and the investor. So the prospective investor, what he needs to do really is do no physical labor. He doesn't have to run from pillar to post. There is an online portal which is available on the MIDC website for him to make an application. But before that, what I would suggest is that the based on the nature of the project and the DPR and the land requirement and the quantum of investment, let him first identify the land parcel which is suitable to his interest. Having done that, we can facilitate his site visit because MIDC, as I mentioned in my speech, is spread over 2.25 lakh acres of land. And there are 16 regions and 289 industrial estates. And each of the industrial area has its own comparative advantage. So based on his requirement, he can shortlist the appropriate parcel of land and apply online. Having applied online, there is something called the Land Allotment Committee, which is at the head office of MIDC. It's headed by one of our joint CEOs. And the committee consists of the planners, the environment officers, the engineering team, and the prospective investor is invited for a meeting. And then the decision is taken regarding allotment of land. Then the first step is giving an offer letter against which he has to pay 25%. He is given a month's period to pay the remaining amount of 75%. against which he's given the allotment later. And then he's handed over the possession after demarcating the plot. And then we enter into agreement to lease. All the lands in MIDC, the plots given are for a long lease of 95 years, which can be further renewed for another 95 years. So by and large, this is the procedure which is all online. He doesn't have to run from pillar to post, doesn't have to physically attend any office. The entire process is online. And we have relationship managers and executives to guide the prospective investors step by step.
Okay. Thank you so much. That would be really great. So I can ask any of the MSME members or perhaps even the MEs of the Bombay Chamber to directly get in touch with you, and perhaps our DG can facilitate that perhaps for our members so that they can get a one window from your end, and an ease of doing business can start from here. Am I
Sure, sure.
correct? Thank you so
Perfect.
much. Thank you, Mr. Abhijit. And the next question is for, of course, Mr. Nikhil. And Nikhil, there are absolutely two queries. One from Mr. Manoj Gupta, a member, esteemed one, asking that they are facing problems in uploading products from the medicines, like on
Okay.
pharma perhaps and medicines on and having catalog issues on the seller portal. So there are many other also issues coming up in the seller portal in terms of new catalog, or perhaps catalog is not there, or if the catalog is there, then particular this composition of medicine not available, and there is an uploading issue, technical uploading issue. So can you help on that, please, Nikhil, and how do
Yeah,
we go about
sure.
it? Yeah.
Surely, sir. Okay, there are two ways to upload the catalog. Okay, first of all, if the product is already available, that means the category is created for that particular product, you can directly select your category and you can upload it. Okay, second way, if the product is not available, first of all, you have to request from your account for the creation of new category or new product, whatever you want. Okay, so once it got created, you can upload the product. Also, there is a new functionality called customized bid. So if your product is not available on Gem and buyer wants to buy that product, right, so we have an option called customized bid. So at the buyer end, buyer can create a customized bid the, for the product which is not available on Gem platform. So once he created the customized bid for that particular product, only after then that particular vendor can participate in that particular bid while creating that particular catalog. And even if you are facing some issues, right, so you can directly connect with our call center team. You can read out our FAQs available on a Gem platform. Even we have a training model which is available on Gem portal itself, so you can refer that and you can according to that you can upload your products. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Nikhil. I think that will really satisfy the query. There's one more query on the same lines on a different angle, perhaps, that one of our members, Muskan Kapoor, wants to know that how their company is trying to validate ITR 6, but it's not verifying, and they have also spoken to the customer service at GEM, but still they're not able to verify. So there is a verification problem which is happening on ITR 6. So how do you address it? First of all, is it correct? This problem?
Uh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I come across with many vendors that their ITR details are not getting verified by the portal. Even they are putting a right figures, it's not accepting or it's not validating. So first, I would like to say that first you have to check out the FAQs. In FAQs, we have already given the instruction. If you're ITR 4, ITR 5, or ITR 6, which figure you have to enter, right? Even if you are failed to do that, you can refer the right figures from the Income Tax India website. Okay, or you can connect with the you can say a chartered accountant for the right figures. Okay, even though if the system having error, you can raise a ticket on a Gem platform. So what our technical team will do, once you raise a ticket will go to the particular concerned person. He'll check out that, and if the problem is genuine, that system is getting some error, they can validate from their side. So I would like to say that key, first read FAQs, then go for a raising a ticket on a Gem platform. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nikhil. I think that will give some Muskan to Muskan Kapoor and satisfy her query at least. And the next question is for Mihir. Mihir, this is a very technical question, and you will need to really, with your knowledge, we'll like to know how do you look upon. So, how do you look at the current scenario of the Ukraine-Russia war to the benefit of India's advantage?
I was just hoping that I don't get this question, but anyways, completely agreed. And I hope the after this you don't ask me for Sri Lanka. How do we get the payment from Sri Lanka? Well, uh, let's be honest. Nobody. I'm not promoting, and I certainly do not accept or want to discuss or comment on the situation which is happening in Ukraine or Russia. But let's be realistic, whether it's Ukraine or whether it was way back earlier in Sri Lanka, the northeast of Sri Lanka, where, so post war, you will have, and if I may use the word war, I'm not too sure if it's technically to be used, but whatever happens after, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Russia, the demand is rising and demand will rise. Now, you will be surprised, Dr. Chopra, that even as we speak, the demand from Russia, at least per se, is already risen, and we already have challenges and requirements to come. So, if I look at it down the line, say a month, 3 months, 6 months, or even a year, it is that India and Indian MSMEs and Indian products are going to be demanded, not only in Ukraine and Russia. Let me put this, because you might have buyers in Ukraine, or you would have had buyers in Ukraine and Russia earlier. Now, because they have moved out and they have spread out to various countries in the world, they have become they have shifted their base, their homes have now shifted. They will also restart their life, they will also restart their business. The countries will require to, if people have been accepted as refugees or they have been accepted as their citizens, those countries, whether the neighboring countries of Poland or any other, would then start rebuilding those setups, whether it is the construction, whether it is the manpower, whether it is the services of education for children. Everything is going to happen, and I certainly see a silver lining there, that India can contribute and will contribute tremendously in terms of exports, and there's a good scope. Various products, right from hygiene, right from basic construction to services, to maybe high technical advanced products, including medicines and pharma, across the world in the years to come, maybe courtesy these Ukraine and Russia dispute.
Thank you so much for that insight, and that perhaps is a very valid and evolved insight coming up, and a very honest insight. In fact, we are having a lot of interaction with MSMEs across the country, and of course in the chamber also. That how do we look upon export as an additional market for taking advantage of the backlash of China and perhaps the upcoming war. Wheat is already a big demand today because Ukraine is the 25% exporter of wheat in the world, and the entire wheat is focus has come on the demand has come to India. India is actually surging and boosting exports in wheat alone, and there are many other products which are coming up. You're right. So thank you for that. And my next question again to Mr. Abhijit. So, Abhijit, there is a question. First of all, I would like to really congratulate Maharashtra government on the fact that the Maharashtra state has the highest number of MSMEs in the country today. It is the number one state holding the maximum number of MSMEs. And it's a very proud achievement of the Department of Industries, Ministry of Industries, and perhaps all the bureaucrats, and of course to you all, that how you all have developed an ecosystem and fostered the MSME in Maharashtra to, but with one window, with Maitri, with many this conflict resolution kind of a thing. So my question to you is that how do you look forward of towards this growth of this MSMEs which is happening now in terms of unicorn, and coming up with IPO. So we already are developing Maharashtra being how the capital being Mumbai, and it's the financial capital of the country today. So how do you help these MIDC from any of your schemes to come up in a broader scale and develop like in terms of scale of economies or exponential growth in their own systems? because we don't want MSMEs to remain an MSME for more than 6 or 7 years. We want new entrepreneurs to come and become MSME. And the current MSMEs, we want to go into the unicorn and the IPO level. How do you help? How the Maharashtra government will help? And how will you be instrumental, Mr. Abhijit?
I think Dr. Chopra, I believe, is a natural process of evolution. Uh, any industry, any new idea, whenever it germinates and sees the light of the day in the form of a unicorn, then becomes starts as a startup, becomes an MSME, and then gradually, whenever it attains the economies of scale, and by means of an evolved ecosystem, it becomes a large scale industry and then attains new heights. So I believe that's a natural progression. And post 1991, the role of the government is to facilitate, it's not to regulate, but to work as a catalyst for the natural progression and the growth of the MSMEs. And you are aware that we have our industrial policy, which came out in 2019, followed by the package scheme of incentives declared the same year in 2019. So the entire industrial areas of the state are divided into various categories: category A, B, C, D, and D plus, based on the level of industrial development of the respective taluka. So the state government gives certain incentives which help MSMEs uh, based on the category, industrial category of the area, where it is the most developed industrial area like A and B, as in Mumbai and Pune, or it is not so developed industrial area, as in say Vidarbha or Marathwada or Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, Nandurbar, which is an aspirational district, and Gadchiroli, which is a no industry zone. So there are progressively more and more fiscal incentives are given by the government. Like, for example, as you are aware that the limit of fixed capital investment for an MSME is 50 crores. Now, if an MSME were to invest in, say, category C or D plus, then progressively uh, from 50% to 80%, and in case of the no industry district, if an MSME were to be invested, then 100% of fixed capital investment is returned over a period ranging between 7 to 10 years in the form of gross SGST. And there is exemption in stamp duty, there is exemption in power uh, 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 power subsidy, power tariff, and there is subsidy in power duty. So these kind of incentives are given by the package scheme of incentives in order to create an ecosystem for the MSMEs to thrive. And this is over and above what is given by the central government.
Can you also elaborate, since we just had a women power in conclave recently from Bombay Chamber, and proudly we have our president as Miss Anjali Bansal, who also happens to be a prominent woman, ex Niti Aayog member. And so I would like to know about, maybe our MSMEs can be helpful to understand what is the scheme for women entrepreneur. That is more than 75%. Once you remember, you told about more than 75% equity in a company by women has a special incentive by the state of Maharashtra government. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Right. So there are two aspects. One is, as I mentioned, as a part of the industrial policy pronounced in 2019, 20% of industrial area is kept reserved for MSMEs. And within the 20% of industrial area, which is reserved for the MSMEs, 5% area is reserved for women entrepreneurs. So that is in order to promote and incentivize women entrepreneurship, and all the benefits which accrue to MSMEs across the board, like stamp duty exemption, like uh, return on the fixed capital investment, uh, power subsidy of 1 rupee per unit, and the interest subsidy of 5% is given to women entrepreneurs. So that is the package which is given to promote entrepreneurship of women in various industrial areas.
Thank you so much for that insight. And one we have just 1 more minute and a quick answer from Mihir about the best kind of a sector you would like to, explain in quick terms about what will be the best sector for us to start exports, those who have not gone into export and ventured into export. So what would you really recommend quickly?
Well, I would say it should be the sector where you have your expertise in. You obviously, as an individual, have expertise on either a product, a genre of product, maybe in engineering, maybe food, maybe chemicals, maybe pharma. Trust me, the reason I'm not pinpointing a specific case, because today, from pin to plane, from mud to chemical, everything is being exported from India and everything is being demanded. It is your skill set, it is your added value addition which you can bring onto the table, which is going to be accepted by the global world. And trust me, there is enough market for everyone in this global business.
That's very motivating. Thank you so much, Mihir, and thank you, Abhijit ji, for the wonderful session and a very enlightening highlights from your end. Thank you, Nikhil, once again, and over to you, Tarini.
Thank you, Dr. Chopra.
Thank you, sir.
I would suggest this session's closed, but I would say all to please stay tuned because the next session is going to start immediately here and after. Yes, Tarini, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chopra, and all our panel members, Mr. Abhijit, Mr. Nikhil, and Mr. Meer, for such an informative session. Let us now proceed to the final session of the evening, that is a panel discussion on building the right team skill development. Before we get into the panel discussion, I would like to request Dr. Akash Korbagade, Medical Superintendent, St. George's Hospital, Government of Maharashtra, to please share his views on skill development.
The future belongs to those who believe in their dreams. A dream to create, a dream to grow and make a difference. And a billion dreams together weave the India story. A dream is powerful only when it is nurtured so that it can bloom into reality. SIDBI is proud to have been associated in nurturing an amazing ecosystem of entrepreneurship and innovation in India for the last 32 years.
Should I start? Hello, should I start?
So, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here and share my experiences and whatever knowledge I gained while in getting involved in some skill training in healthcare sector as well as non-healthcare sector. So basically, I am a superintendent of St. George's Hospital, but through government of Maharashtra, we have done some skill training program in the government hospitals like St. George Hospital, JJ Hospital, and Kama Hospital in Mumbai. Apart from that, being an advisor to one of our NGO, we have also did some of the skill training courses in the non-healthcare sectors, particularly in the tribal region of Palghar. And right now, recently, we are as a government hospital, we are associated and attached to tribal ministry, through which we are doing some skill development training program. So, apart from this introduction, I want to discuss something that, as this is an MSME conclave, and the aim and objective of this conclave is empowering MSMEs. So, what I feel is MSMEs have to empower themselves to a level that they can sustain on their own. Apart from this, there's a big problem in the candidates who should work or the staff who should work for these MSMEs. Obviously, in current scenario, there are very less job opportunities, particularly the populations try to seek jobs in the government sector, preferably, but uh, they are not recruited, and they turned towards the private sectors. But the private sector in today's scenario is they want a specific trained staff so that they should grow together. Well, for this, the traditional way of going ahead, which is there existing now, will not suffice. So we have to change our pattern, and here comes the skill training programs. So as MSMEs are there, there are stakeholders, and as I can say, finance is not a much problem, but a trained staff or trained candidates are required to for the MSMEs to survive. Now, skill is very important aspect in today's world. If you see in today's what is the educational setup right now, we do the schooling, we do our graduation, then sometimes post graduation, and we try to seek the job in the industry, in maybe in various sectors. But this is now a traditional way of going ahead. But it is required that if I want to pursue a job to a particular area or a sector, I should be trained in that sector from the start. So here comes the importance of skill training. Proper and focused training of the candidates are required, and I would suggest we always we always try to focus on training of the candidates. But as per the recent experiences which we got, we should first focus on training the trainers. Again, I have a recent experience of training some candidates for diabetes assistant course, which is under Chief Minister Skill Development Program in Maharashtra. So what I did, I asked my colleague, he's a diabetologist, to train the candidate who will be in the future working as a diabetes assistant. But the trainer, who is my colleague, has to focus on their brain. They are not a medical student. They are not a health. They are not from healthcare sector. They were just graduated from different streams, particularly science stream. So the training of trainer is very important, because we have a habit of training the experts only. As a doctor, I am saying, but when I am going to train the candidates who are not from the medical background, or from, on the other hand, from the other particular background, so it is very difficult to get connect from the candidates and the trainer. So first and foremost is the training of the trainer. These courses of the skill development are very are of short duration, and they have to trainer has to focus precisely what is the demand. This I consider as the main and important part of skill training. Second most important part is placement. What happened in today's what is happening is there are various training modules, there are various NGOs. Government is helping the NGOs to run that skill development training. We think of placement after the assessment. We don't think of placement while doing or while giving this training. Most importantly, the candidate which will come to you for the skill training, they should have a focused view that after completion of this, we will be helping you to get job in this particular industry, in this particular hospital, in this particular factory, so that they have a focused view. These courses are very short, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months at the most, or some courses are for 1 year. But we need to make them aware that what exactly will be the job avenues after completion of this training. Because candidate, to be very frank, first come what will be the job opportunity. After that only they will enter the training. So again, the second and most important thing which we should focus is the placement guarantee. And in this, government and the stakeholders and the NGOs or whoever are giving the skill training, they should focus on the placement. If we give proper placement, we will get a trained staff, because in between while doing that training, they will focus on the particular skill, and those skills will be definitely helpful to the particular sector. Lastly, in the healthcare sector, which I was involved particularly, I have raised these points. Considering these experience, now we are giving some training to the tribal candidates, particularly in the healthcare sector. And St. George Hospital is one of the sector which will be giving tribal courses to these. And it is always, I would consider lastly, it is always a team effort in between the stakeholders, skill training agencies. They should go hand in hand to build a beautiful nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for such an informative sharing your informative details. Let us now proceed to the next to the panel discussion. The moderator for today's panel discussion is Dr. Adil Malia, CEO, the firm. The panel members for this session are Dr. Rajendra Kumar Sinha, founder MSMEadvisor.com and chairperson Center of Excellence in Banking, Jackson; Mr. Aniket Marshe, owner Nicam Solution; Ms. Kaushiki Srivastava, HR Director, Ubisoft.com; and Mr. Amit Sarda, Director, PT Invent India Private Limited. May I now request Dr. Adil Malia to please take over and begin with the session. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much, Tarini, and good afternoon to you, everybody. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure for me to be invited to moderate this interesting session, which is going to talk about the criticality of people. Not only people are critical, as we know, in any kind of an organization, because they bring you that sustainable cutting edge, particularly in the kind of adverse times that we are facing. But when we particularly look at the MSME sector, the criticality of managing people assumes a totally different shape and a totally different scale. And that is why we are out here to discuss this critical element as to what MSMEs need to be doing to manage their talent, which is the critical aspect of it. Now, only a 1-minute diversion to talk about the kind of experience I have in terms of managing the human resources, and not in terms of my experiences, but in terms of what are the 7G elements which I believe any organizations, irrespective of whether you are a large organization or you are an MSME organization, you got to be mindful of. So there are 7 Gs that any organization, big, small, MSME, large corporate, need to be mindful about when they talk about managing talent. The first is get, the second is give, the third is grow, the fourth is guard, the fifth is guide, the sixth is govern, and the seventh is germinate. So how does the organization, big or small, adverse times or peace times, manage their 7 Gs in the life cycle of the talent management becomes a very, very critical aspect which determines whether it will succeed or it will not succeed. So we have with us this very interesting panel comprising of Dr. Rajendra Sinha, Kaushiki Srivastava, my friend Amit Sharda, and my friend Aniket Marshe. And they are going to share with us their aspects. The only caution that I would put on is that being an MSME kind of a seminar that we are holding, and some of you coming from large corporate experiences, come back to the ground level realities that we would like to draw on our experiences and see how MSMEs would be able to seek advantages, to be able to apply that advantages, particularly and peculiarly to the nature of the life cycle they have, when particularly talent does not get easily attracted to them, or their ability to pay those high compensations do not exist. Continuous attraction for the talent to move to larger corporation continues to hound them. In that kind of a milieu, how are we able to give and guide our MSME friends to be able to manage talent? So I would expect you to give your focused answers onto that. What I would like you to do is give a first 2 or 3 minutes of kind of introduction, not so much about yourself because everyone understands your extra super profiles that we bring on table, but in terms of the larger implication, and then bring it down thereafter for around 5 to 6 minutes on the implication of the domain that you would like to talk about as we discussed. So I would request Dr. Rajendra Sinha to please take over, explain the concept at the first level, and thereafter bring it down to the specific domain he wants to speak on.
Good afternoon, Dr. Alil and all colleagues of this panel and the audience. I have been especially a career banker, and especially with the MSMEs. My association came when I was SME business head, Mumbai Circle, with the largest portfolio of SBI, and all kinds of varietal ISA in the state of Maharashtra and in the state of Goa. Then subsequently, I have been associated as a chairperson, Center of Excellence in Banking at Jagdish Seth School of Business Management, which is after the name of Padam Bhushan awardee Dr. Jagdish Seth, and the 6th AACSB accredited B school in the country. Now here I introduced first time MSME financing codes and brought my experiential sharings. I'm also associated with entrepreneurial finance. And I'm also the founder of MSMEadvisor.com, relating to MSME, especially from the financial perspective and other dimensions. I keep on bringing my blogs with updated information. Now, the context, Dr. Adil said that yes, micro, small, and medium enterprises, they have investment in plant and machinery a certain extent. And 2020 definition by government revised. Micro enterprises have less than 1 crore investment in plant and machinery. Small enterprises less than 10 crores. Medium enterprises less than 50 crores. Well, the turnover aspect has also come. Less than 5 crores are micro enterprises, less than 50 crores are small enterprises, and less than 250 crore are medium enterprises. Now, since the investment in plant and machinery has gone up 5 times from 10 crores earlier for medium enterprises to 50 crores, this has given a lot of scope and opportunity for upgradation in technology for the medium enterprises and also for the small enterprises, where also it has been doubled. So earlier they were hesitant and not going because they will lose the status of MSMEs if they cross these thresholds. Okay. Now, given this background, I have different aspects to share, but yes, broadly, initially I will be speaking on important dimensions which this panel is reflecting. This has bearing on, say, my experiences, which I have seen, and the other things which I have learned. So the talent acquisition in digital times, yes, the talent acquisition funnel has to be fast, efficient, cost-effective, and it is said that application tracking system is one of the software. There are others also. My HR colleagues will be speaking out well on them. But yes, it tracks candidate information and CBA and allows the recruiter to match the requirements. Using artificial intelligence in selective phase of a recruitment process in today's scenario can be helpful, certainly, when matching the essential skills. Then the second dimension, this capacity building and reskilling of future readiness. Well, this what will be the jobs of the future and what skills will be in demand? It has become certainly a pertinent question. There are 10 skill sets of World Economic Forums, and in business schools, which I come from, all the curriculum, the pedagogy has accordingly been tuned so that the same skill sets be groom of the managers for this kind of talent. Now, in the MSMEs, the existing force itself, skilling, reskilling, upskilling has to be an ongoing exercise. And future readiness certainly is very essential. Now, the three important aspects, challenges, which has to be taken care of, that generating sustainable growth, creating positive social and environmental impact, remaining resilient and agile in a difficult situation like COVID pandemic, and only such MSMEs will be sustaining over. Now, the drivers, therefore, for future readiness, essentially the three drivers: orientation with important decisions and the dealings, the business model flexibility. This is very important dimension which we have seen in COVID pandemic, where the small enterprises, medium enterprises, they showed flexibility, and they, from say certain were making perfumes, but instead of that, they diverted towards sanitizer manufacturing, and they excelled. Even the whole year, whatever they were showing as turnover in a quarter, they have excelled. So this simple example, the business model flexibility is very important. The networks, formal, informal, professional relationships, it helps certainly a lot. Then I will not deal in details when it comes in discussion. I will. But yes, aligning the workforce with the requirements of Industry 4.0, because the MSMEs cannot lag behind. They have to come up. And the government has given a leeway, 5 times enhancement in technology, say investment, so they should take a leverage of it. Now, the third dimension, MSME engagement and communications for employee involvement. It is often said that the employee's voice, if it is heard in the organization, they perform about 4.5 times and likely to excel in their output. So therefore, the MSMEs, well, the small and medium enterprises, they need to have the ecosystem within their enterprise, which has communication within for the employees, which is relevant and engaging. And we know that the content rule of the thirds, where it says that 1/3 of such communication should relate to the company news, departmental, internal, 1/3 industry news with competitors related, and 1/3 daily life, which will be engaging and making them interesting. So, and also the showcasing employee insights through user-generated content that should get a focus. Engage employee in co-creation that helps out involvement in a big way, and major engagement through competing for points, badges, prizes. These are small gestures will help out a lot way. The fourth dimension, which is anti-fragile leadership for employee happiness. Now, this word anti-fragile was given by Nassim Taleb, who coined after just a study. We have seen that big corporates, and what big, even say in MSMEs also small medium enterprises, the organizations seem when established to become fragile. They break under stress. Kotak has been one big example. That's not MSME, that's a big corporate, but yes, in the time 2020 onwards, even a small medium enterprise, we have seen that they have succumbed to this challenge. Now, yes, anti-fragile system requires resilience, robustness, and it does not believe in rigid command structures. So employees have to be trained, need to be trained every day to have quick problem solvers, and the skills encouragement for flexibility, agility, vulnerability, versatility, emotional intelligence, agile learning has to be encouraged. which will help out in bringing transformation in the businesses. The last, taking just half a minute or so, yeah, talent acquisition and retention of employee. Talent acquisition has to be a long-term strategy, HR strategy. We know HR experts are here, and the theory of Frederick Hertzberg, famous two-factor theory, holds good relationship between employee retention and employee motivation. So there are strategies which has to be worked out for employee retention. Here, a few points that yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Dr. Rajendra, can we do one thing? Can we take this in the second burst, because we are coming to the close of your first 10 minutes?
Fair enough.
So, we'll take it in the second session on that.
Yeah,
but what you really brought out, Doctor, was very, very interesting. Two elements of what you said. Number one is the trick of success lies really in the MSME to be able to have flexible business models. And you took the thrill out, which I thought I would add to it, but you already took the thrill out of my saying it, that the next most important, along with the flexible business model, is to bring an anti-fragile leadership model, which means leadership that thrives on chaos and adversity. They actually grow in moments of adversity. And this is most peculiar and most suitable for the MSME model, how to develop anti-fragile leadership. So we will talk about it as we progress. Thank you very much for your time, interesting thoughts. Let's bring in Kaushiki Srivastava, very closely associated with us at Bombay Chambers in our HR committee. So Kaushiki, do share your thoughts with us. But as I said, particularly focus on that the patient who is poor and needs the doctor the most is unable to afford the fees of the doctor. So how do organizations which are in that MSME sector manage their show well? So your expertise would certainly help us.
Thank you so much, Adil, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'll jump straight to the point. I think something that has been interesting in my journey has always been I've gone through organizations that have seen the highs, the plateaus, and then a little bit of a low, and then kind of learn how to climb back up. And one of the things that is very important is how do you actually remain agile when it comes to people management strategies, when it comes to really kind of sometimes tearing everything apart and really looking at what do you need to build, sometimes right from base. Couple of things, and I like to kind of, always say that, most important thing to have a strong foundation is to keep it simple. It's to keep it, as back to basics as possible. When we talk about MSMEs, I think one of the things that we're all talking about across the board is the fact that we'll always have limited budgets to begin with. We're going to have to mindfully invest in what we bring in, whether it's a tool, whether it's in terms of setting up a team, in terms of hiring, whether it is to set up a support function overall. That kind of supports the complete business. The first few things that I feel like they are important tips to remember is what is a organization without a structure. And when I say not a structure in terms of the leadership or the people, but it's also about the structure in terms of what kinds of processes do you want to have, what kinds of processes are must have before you move on to the good to have and the frills that you want to have. Having firstly, starting from talent acquisition, one of the biggest crunch that we face today as MSMEs is the talent crunch. You have a lot of people who are obviously looking for a job. You also have a lot of potential opportunities. What you probably don't have is a way to bridge the two. Probably because of funds, probably because you're not being able to find the right skills. Sometimes you also have to coach the managers to probably invest in an 80% ready individual and train the 20% of the person. So it all has to start from what do you exactly want to hire? Do you always, for every position, want to hire only permanent workers? Can you look at freelancers? Can you look at gig workers? Can you look at a retainership model? Can you balance out your headcount and your cost towards headcount in a way that you look at certain roles, certain jobs that are required as a core in your organization, focus on bringing in people in terms of permanent contracts or permanent term employments, and also for certain roles which might be required, there might be a search for it, and then you would see it probably going to a maintenance mode, or you would probably foresee it evolving into a different role. The good thing with the generation right now is that all the youngsters that we are meeting, highly qualified people coming out of different types of backgrounds and colleges, they do actually like to experiment with their careers. They also want to experiment with different organizations. And if we're going to go with the mindset that used to be there 10 years ago or 12, 15 years ago, that we've got to hire people and they must stay for 10 years with us, we're going to be always fighting a losing battle. We must look at the gig economy as an opportunity. We must look at how do we create a bench of talent? How do we use internships usefully? Maybe create a PPO model out of that, and then bring in the right talent. You also get simultaneously, like I said, it's very important to have the rest of the structures. You must have a robust performance management system. And again, like I said, keep it basic, keep it simple. Start with something. Start with a performance evaluation structure. Sometimes we see in MSMEs that there is a lot of ongoing feedback, and because people know people, you start small, it feels like a family, and then suddenly you've organically grown and you realize that you're now bringing in people who are demanding to know exactly what's in it for them. Where are they going to head 3 years from now? And at that point in time, what you lack is an objectivity. Because you don't have the right systems for it, or you don't have the right structure for it. So institute a performance management system, as simple as that. Institute a way in which you can tell people how are they supposed to perform, what are they supposed to get done, till when are they supposed to do that, and then how will they actually then bear the fruits of it, whether it is in terms of rewards, it is in terms of further investment in them, or in terms of moving them to the different avenues that might be opening up. The third part of it, which is very important again in all of this, is the bubble in which we all survive, which is the culture. Simultaneously, and this is not something that the HR only has to kind of do, this is actually something that all the leaders, all the managers become important here. In their roles, is to institute the right culture. So when I said performance, when I said talent acquisition, it is also about having a culture of flexibility. Post pandemic, what are you seeing as a trend? People are asking you, what's in it for me? Why do I need to leave my hometown when there are opportunities for me to work remotely or in a hybrid model? Why should I come back to the office? Do I need to come back to the office? Secondly, am I being paid enough to come back to the office? Because I've settled into the life that I have lived for the last 2 years. Thirdly, do I have enough autonomy in this role that I'm doing? Am I connected with my people? Leveraging Teams, leveraging Zoom, leveraging at-hand technology. You don't have to introduce something different, something new to begin with. It is about leveraging what you have, using feedback as a very, very important dipstick for yourself, as a barometer to check as to whether you're doing the right thing, whether you're listening to your people. Do we have a hand on the pulse? I must tell you, I think in the last 2 years, I don't know how many organizations would have shifted completely to Teams. I know schools have. And one of the things that has become very easy to do now is that with this particular tool, you can do so many different things. There's a chatbot. So you can actually smarten the chatbot to actually handling daily queries of employees if you feed the right information in. So you're using your HR personnel very wisely. They're actually in touch with people for actual on-ground issues, while a lot of the sundry questions and the queries, the daily questions can get answered through a chatbot model. You can also use a quick survey, which through Teams again, and I'm not advertising Team, but I'm just saying because I'm a user, you can actually leverage that to do a lot of quick employee engagement surveys to just understand the pulse. Are we doing something right? When you launch a process, are you doing it the right way? Are people actually feeling that it's working? And of course, I don't want to obviously steal the thunder from the rest of the panelists, but a lot of investment has to happen on skilling, upskilling, and reskilling talent. I know my other panelists have a lot to say about it, so I'm going to come back on that topic a little later. But again, like I said, there are very value added and low cost investments that one can do in learning today. A lot of ready-made material. It is just about hiring the right people in your HR team, maybe, or in your managerial space to be able to get them to deliver. And I go back to what Dr. Sinha was saying about actually, and of course, Dr. that was saying about actually bringing people who can be trained to train ahead, bringing people who are somewhere ready to actually own these systems and then be able to deliver it internally so that you don't have to consistently outsource. I'll pause over here and let others have their time.
So thank you, Kaushiki. If you look at the quintessence of what I heard you saying, number one, you were also stressing on the need and desire to bring in agility. And what you really brought about is that whilst we believe that large organizations actually have a setback considering the scale, size, and the networks that they operate in, their ability to be flexible is like expecting the giant elephant to be dancing up walls versus ability of smaller organizations in the MSME sectors, their ability to be agile and flexible, comparatively far more easy to teach them to dance than to teach the elephant to dance. So number one, you brought that out very well. And the most important is that how could one use the new technology and the gig economy to be able to maximize on the new options emerging, which are challenging the great resignation kind of a syndrome that the industry is facing. How does MSME handle the great resignation syndrome? By being flexible and being agile to the gig economy and the expectations of the people. Thank you. Great thoughts. We come back to you again. Time for me to once again request my dear friend Amit Sarda. And I must tell you one thing about Amit Sarda. He's a very, very close and a dear friend. And he's done some amazing entrepreneurial work, not only in the kind of businesses that he brings in. And you know that he is the guy who is the founder and the managing director of not only Soul Flower, but at a very, very young age of 16, he brought in the brand called Rough and Tough, which was, I didn't know till late that it was his brand. Otherwise, I used to keep buying that brand, and now I buy them more because it is such a fantastic brand. So with his experience, and particularly where he gives a greater stress on management of talent in his business, Amit, I think the value, because you have yourself run an MSME kind of an organization, your experiences would really add value. So Amit, all over to you. Amit? Hello? Sorry? He's dropped out?
Okay. I think
So,
he may be rejoining. Yeah.
Sorry?
He may be rejoining, some connectivity issue. Yeah.
All right, so let's wait for a couple of more seconds. Otherwise, I would request Aniket Marshe. Aniket also is a brilliant guy. He is NICHEM Solutions. He is one of the prime drivers of the NICHEM Solutions. He is a very, very talented young man. He's done lots of works from metals to software to music. And, he's been running these kind of similar organizations. So Aniket would be of great value, and we will request, him to take over later on, Amit to take over later on when he joins in. But why don't you start and give us your experiences and what do you believe? How should SME sector companies manage the situation?
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Adil, and good afternoon, everybody. I have a very interesting journey from, like Dr. Adil said, so from metallurgy to IT to chemicals now. So I've worked in MNCs for 14 years before joining NICHEM. It was a company owned by Mr. Rajan Raje, who is on BCCI. So now we run it together. So we have undergone a lot of challenges over a period of time. But fortunately for us, the attrition was not a big challenge. We have less than 0.5% attrition for last 7 years, which is a very big achievement, I would say. So we actually care a lot about people. Though we run it as a family business, we have been growing, and as we grow, we are trying to become more and more professional, and also upgrading the skills of people. So I would like to categorize the overall presentation into 4 parts, which is and I would also like to say that because I come from IT background, I've tried to implement many systems, IT systems in the company, which will help people become more productive. So I've told them that if technology becomes overwhelming, that is where you need to come and tell me that this is not, because that's not your job. Technology is there to help, right? So one of the things that we do is hiring. We try to hire through LinkedIn. But before that, one important part many MSMEs miss is visibility, right? today's world is about visibility. So you have to have a very good website. You must have a social media page, either Facebook or LinkedIn, which is actively managed. And these are the places where people would go and search for you. Whenever they get a call from your HR or any reference, the first thing they would do is go online and check what this company is. There you must have enough information about you, your products, who the company is, what is the background, what is the culture. It should be actively managed. And many people miss that particular portion. And I think that puts a doubt in many people's mind whether I should join this company or not, because it looks like a black box. So when people come to our website, and a lot of people who have gone through the website, we really like it because we have put a lot of information about us on it. Second one is training. I think we cannot emphasize more on this part. Now, one thing one must realize is that you're not going to get a right fit, because every company is unique, every product is unique, every process is unique to the company. You will get probably 50 or 60% match. If you're looking for a chemistry graduate, yeah, he will know organic chemistry or something, but it's not going to be that he can become productive on day one. Second portion is that he may not be a fit in your culture also, right? So you must train those guys. And one important factor in hiring candidates is, more than skills, we look at the attitude. If the attitude is right, then if the guy is trainable and open-minded, then we can actually train him to become more productive and become part of the culture. Now, people don't care much about training, but I did not have this understanding before I joined NICAM. I used to believe that technical training is more important, but then slowly I realized that actually behavioral training is probably 80%, and only 20% should be technical, because it's very, very important to have a right mix in the organization. The employee must gel in the organization, because that bad apple can actually ruin your entire organization. So you must have right people. You must always train them on good behaviors, your culture, whatever you want them to have. That's a critical factor. We also have recently, after COVID, when COVID hit, basically we had to also go offline. So we started using LMS, learning management system, like Zoho. We also encourage our employees to use Udemy or Coursera for specific needs. And during that time also, we had a consultant to do a complete competency matrix. Basically, competency matrix is you find out whether a person is competent enough to do a job or not. And if he's doing a job but is not competent and not competent enough, then you have a very specific need to train him. Then from that you can identify that this person, even though you have like 5 managers, you can actually differentiate between those managers, that this person needs to be trained on this particular aspect and this person needs to be trained on other particular aspect. So specific training needs, as you grow up, as you grow to you can say promote people into leaderships, is very, very important. You need to have rather a look into their specific training needs, what one person lacks and what one person needs. Apart from that, what we also have recently started is at a very basic level, that is English training. One big elephant in the room is people don't understand that even though we are in a country which is probably run by different languages, English is a predominant language. And we found out that 22 out of 29 people who took the test failed. So we started a training program which trains them on basic English grammar. It's a very, very important part. They must first speak, and then we will go to the next step, which is writing the language. The third portion I want to talk about is collaboration. So employees must collaborate. And now that there is a possibility of remote work, on-site work, now we have different locations, like we have a factory at different place, office at different place. Employees need to collaborate. And how do they do that? So today you use WhatsApp. We have actually gone ahead and implemented a system called Slack, which is an internal office communication software. First of all, you don't need to worry about deleting the chats because it's on the cloud. And there is some sound.
Possibly it's at your end.
Sorry. So you don't have to worry about deleting the chats. And secondly, it's integrated with multiple systems. So it becomes a very productive tool. Similarly, we have now started using Zoom and other things like Google Meet and those kind of things. So these are important tools for employees to collaborate. So employers must encourage people to collaborate more often, and technology is there now to help them in these things. Fourth point is record keeping, which is like basic, HRMS system where you have like employee profiles, you have payroll systems where employee can go and check their salary slips, they can see their tax declarations. These are very basic things, that people would say, okay, this is a must in the organization, but people don't have that. And as an organization, you must go and focus on these things because that makes you start looking professional. And that's my last point, that be professional. So employees, MSMEs, irrespective of size, they must start behaving more professional, because end of the day, when people compare you, MSME, to an MNC, what they see is a better working environment, posh offices, maybe some party culture, maybe work from home, maybe these kind of things, that they have a lot of systems and processes. It doesn't take much amount of money to implement that in your organization. Just to give you information, majority of systems that we use are America based. I wrote to them that we are Indian and there is a 75, 76 rupees conversion rate. Many of them give me discounts. Slack has an ongoing India discount force of 60%. So for over US, you get 60% discount by default on Slack. So those kind of things can be done to save costs and to implement the softwares. Yes, it takes time to adapt and also to train people on them, but in the long run, they are going to be very useful. Also, it makes you look very professional. So when people tell outside people that, okay, we are already using these kind of things, it's also very impressive. Secondly, like I said, so people are the most important asset. So we have to spend a lot of money and time on training people. So it's a chicken and egg situation where you either invest first in people or wait for the company to grow and then train them. So I believe that at NICAM, we always believe that we have to train people first and only continuously upgrade them. That is the only way to scale. And
That's good.
Yeah.
So thank you, Aniket.
That's about it.
Good points about how do you use technology? How do you really create a communications environment? How do you use networking relationships and all of those? Very, very important. And you are saying that, MSMEs might find it difficult considering their peculiar situations, but if they succeed in managing to get over that tipping point, they will be ready to get into the next stage and go on. So here we have connection with my dear friend out here. Amit, I think I gave you introduction.
No. Thanks a lot, Dr. Adil. Really appreciate all your kindness and generosity over me.
Sorry, I wanted to say that every time I want to hear you more and more, I get back only silence. So for a minute, I was wondering.
Sorry. No, there was a connectivity issue suddenly. Okay, so I'll just talk about my journey pre-COVID, post-COVID. As you already said, I am an entrepreneur. So I run a brand called Soulflower. The whole purpose of the brand is to deliver happiness through natural products. So that is what our purpose is, to make people's hair and skin happier and healthier. Pre-COVID, we were around 650 stores all over India, and COVID happened. Everything changed for us. Most of the stores got shut down. We were completely out of business. And that is the time, it was a complete chaotic situation. But definitely what happened and what helped us was this anti-fragile leadership inside the company, which could go back, which was more or less my team, my co-founder, which could go back and have a plan, which said that, okay, how do we go back to our business? What can we do? So the only thing what we could do that time was we mapped ourselves with our own skills, our own abilities, our own attitudes, with our people, what we expect to do. So I think first thing which we started doing was looking at how we develop our own capability internally, the leaders. So my sales head actually became the HR head that moment, because we realized we had so many people working in the company and the HR could not manage so many people because, people were clueless. What is going to happen? Kitne din tak stores band rahega? And my sales head actually took over that thing. He said, let me handle this HR because I have to talk to people. I have to be the face. So I said, great, you do that. And second aspect was definitely the tech was to be involved. So what we did was we actually mapped the skills of people. And we said we still can be in business because online was allowed. We had essentials which we were selling. We said, can we look at people who were good at customer service in person? Can they also become customer service agents on the call? So we actually got Nolarity. Nolarity is a dialer where people can dial from the same number all across India sitting at their home. We got a CRM system which was Freshdesk. We said, let everybody call whoever their customers are. We had the database of customers. We called up each and every customer possible, whoever database we had. we actually told them that we are still delivering, we are doing this, and if you could also recommend us. So we also started something called as affiliate program. So for example, I could call up Mr. Dr. Adil and say that, sir, you have been our customer, and if you also recommend to your people, we are delivering it by courier very safely. And people actually came back to us and people said, yes, we'll do that. We had a margin structure there. But this whole process, one thing I realized was, as an entrepreneur, it was for me very important to reskill myself. Instead of only people being reskilled. Most of the times as people or as leaders, we think we know everything. And I realized whatever I knew did not work at all in COVID time. So I took only one mantle to erase the history, whatever I had. I had a very grandeur history, very good business. I said, I want to erase history and I want to create a new history. And that's where I started reskilling myself. And I realized the key skill, Dr. Adil, it's very important, I think. People like you who can grant this skill to people is the HR skill. I think as leaders, as any vertical head in any organization, I think besides sales, marketing, technology, one should learn how to be human and how to bring that HR practice to yourself, because I think that is the most criticality. So hence, most of the people in my organization, we actually got all of them, got them trained on the HR aspects, got them trained on many aspects, how to even negotiate, how to even speak, because it was a very big challenge for us. Getting our money from retailers, talking to big people, big giants, it was a tough time. So we had to look at negotiation, we had to look at the HR practices, and we had to look at the digital aspect. All these three things we had to actually get our people involved. Then one thing which is again my learning was having a right org chart. We generally put an org chart what people we have in the organization. We never look at the future org chart. कि हमारा धंधे में अगर कोई change आने वाला है, anything is going to change. What is the kind of people we like to have, And also again we start getting into this whole aspect of skill based hiring. कि somebody should know how to call up people. Somebody should know everything. And sometimes as a company we forget the attitude side of it. Because company has certain culture, the brand has certain culture. Your customers expect you to behave in some manner. So for example, my customer will write to us on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock and will expect an answer at 3 o'clock in the night. I can't help it, right? So that is the way we have grown, because being an SME, we have always been very quick to answer people. Now people expect that, and if you don't answer, next day I will get a mail on a Sunday stating that, see, your company is not doing what it used to do. So I think somewhere we have given them a habit, but now if that is a culture, how do you get people who will be interested to answer that thing? So we have to keep on looking at those attitudes in certain aspect of business. I'm not saying the production person has to reply, neither the accounts person has to reply. So I think in every job profile, we need to define that attitude side, which we learned slightly on the harder way. Then one more thing which we learned was to coach people continuously. We started this whole concept of buddy management, where we said anybody who's going to be hired, we'll have a buddy for that person. And that the whole KPI of that buddy is to make sure the person is comfortable. It's not a HR job. It is no more an HR job. HR ne leke aa gaya, but ab buddy ka kaam hai karna. And that is where we saw a lot of difference. We saw a lot of people who wanted to take lead, and they said, sir or madam, this is the person I am responsible for, and I'm going to take care of this person for the next 1 month to make sure that he or she is comfortable in the organization, to know smallest possible policies. Third thing, one more gentleman who said here that, to listen to people. It's very critical to listen to people, and I think that is where the challenge is. I remember Kaushiki also speaking about that people did not want to come back. What are the challenges people are having? So though it's a cost to us, we have started a lunch at our workplace, because people are used to that work from home culture ki ghar pe khana kha lenge, kuch karenge. So we actually technically, we are an MSME, very small company, but we have put down that cost as our as a benefit to our people. If they want to have somebody say ki aaj ye pasand nahi aaya, but still people are happy because they don't have to now get up early morning, make their food or organize some food and come to the work. I think those are few things.
Yeah. So Amit, just for sake of moving on the time, and got your lovely points. There were 4 clear ideas that came out, and your ideas are very critical because you have hands-on. Both of you guys have run those companies, therefore your ideas are critical. Number 1, I heard you saying erase your history. Don't keep continuing history, because you are actually facing challenges of future. History is past, so erase your history. Define the new world, and which is what you said, define the new world and the challenges therein. develop the right skills which will help you to get there. And fourth is learn how to manage people, and therefore how to create the correct attitudes, the empathy, and the coaching skills. Fantastic.
Yes.
Because if you get those pieces right, it will be super for you. So these are our great four gentlemen on the panel and the lady who have given us fantastic ideas. Now, very quickly, in 1 minute's time, for paucity of time and to be able to take some questions from the audience, I would like you to, in 1 minute's time, tell me one bullet point of what is that one single mantra that you would give the MSME to say, if you do this, this will help you tremendously to manage your talent and people in the organization. One message, one mantra. So collectively, they will have 4 messages to take back to manage the businesses. So let's begin. Sir Rajendra Sinha, one message.
Dr. Adil, again, I come back to the business model flexibility. Now, it encompasses all dimension, all aspects. So that's one which I look forward in MSMEs.
Sir, give 1 more minute to explain what do you understand really by this flexible business model.
Yeah, what I mean to say that given the kind of situations, unplanned kind of situations, for instance, the COVID and that sort of thing can often come for MSMEs. Now they have to be agile and mentally prepared, and that readiness to adapt to the given situation. Whether the market is demanding that way, so why not to understand the market well, the products which I am producing, if it is not of say the customer satisfaction, then why not I should look for some other products which in the existing setup of machines with little bit innovation can be really done without more cost putting, but yes, that will pay me off. So this kind of the business model flexibility, I think it is very essential.
Super, very critical.
Yeah.
Very critical. Aniket, what is that one message you would want us to take back with the audiences out here? What is that one thing you would do, Aniket?
Train and empower to the employee. Train employee, empower them, make them responsible, authorize them to take some decisions. That is the way to scale. That is how you get out of the actual operations and pass on the baton to them, create a succession.
And to be able to do that, most important, as you said, is get the right people first and then allow them to do that.
Yeah.
That's very good. So very simple message, get the right people and then empower them to do the things they are supposed to do, not under a very neck breathing supervision, but under a free environment defined by the leadership. That's great. And my friend Amit, what do you feel? What is the...
So only 2 things, sir. Always buy technology which is created by startups because they really suit you well. I am suffering with a very large company I've taken for ERP, huge investment, and I'm still not implemented it in last 1.5 years. So definitely Zoho is a great company he already spoke about. I think that is there. And also second thing, sir, I think as an if you're hiring people, please do not hire people who change your culture. Culture is what people do it together. So if somebody hires somebody saying that ke culture change kar dega, company ka nahi hoga, it will get troublesome. So that's only 2 things I can from my learning.
And so therefore the message is culture is a very critical contributor. You've got to be mindful, and culture is something that you got to take charge of as a MSME. Cannot leave it to one person and believe that he's some culture expert who's going to be.
Yes, sir.
So this is very interesting, lovely thoughts, fantastic ideas coming from people who have hands-on driven, coming from people who have managed smaller companies and larger companies, and therefore it's time for us to bring it to a reasonable closure. Are there any questions? Will someone want to pick out and tell us a question or something if you would like to ask the audience? We have time for 2 short questions. Are there any questions we see to be answered, or have they said it in such clarity that there are no questions coming up?
In chat and Q&A, I'm not finding any questions.
Correct. So I have this question with possibly one of you can really take it up. So where does the money come from? Here I am unable to run my business due to adversities, but there you are also suggesting I should buy technology, I should get the right people, I should also and make my environment very nice and sexy. So how do you do all of that when on the other end you do not have the monies required for that? So that's a trap. Aniket, tell us about it.
That is definitely a chicken and egg. See, it's a different topic altogether, right? So obviously the best way to get money is sales. There is no debate about that. But if in a situation where you are not able to do that, there are other ways to raise money also. It could be all good. And at times entrepreneurs have to take a call whether they need external money to sustain the operations. Sales, like I said, is the most critical part that takes a precedence. But if you are getting it done from people who are not able to understand what they're selling, or they are not communicating it properly, then again you are beating around the bush. So, like I said, it's a chicken and egg. Whether you train people first or wait for the company to grow. So, if the investment is required, you should look at it as an investment and look at finance as an option, whatever finance option is available.
Amit, you've been running business. What is that thing? Have you not experienced the situation? Always a fun
Yes.
crunch and yet to
So
do it.
I think that is always a process and it's an ongoing thing. But two things I'll tell you. I think working out of a budget, any budget, it might be the smallest possible budget. So then you look at the resources accordingly. And second aspect is definitely if your business is fundable, or any business can be fundable, you could always raise external funding. And it also depends on what kind of investor you get. So we recently got Wipro, which is Mr. Azim Premji's family. So definitely that has helped us. Though I'm a very small company, Adil, a very, very tiny company, but I think our vision matched and our values matched with his values. And that helped us a lot to get a good investor on board. So I think it is only about how open we are to, being governed by an overall scenario rather than just governing ourselves with our own thoughts.
Good.
I think that's the only thing I can share.
Message is clear. Thank you very much, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
Dr. Adil, just would like to add up because such kind of queries have been coming to me. Yes, debt or equity finance that remains the options, but yes, equity finance. Mr. Amit and Mr. Aniket also will agree that only if the USP is there within you, and again the investors have high expectations, which is again not easy to match out. So equity investment is not possible for everyone unless some USP is there. But debt financing, yes, there are opportunities available. But the familiarity I have come across MSMEs, one basic thing that the registration on Udyam registration is not with them. So they are deprived of various benefits. The paucity of time is there. Otherwise, I could have spoken about quite a number of these where the monetary saving can be there. Even the technology upgradation fund up to 1 crore investment for new technology, 15 lakhs comes as a subsidy. Now,
So,
how many
Rajendra,
of
what I would suggest is that
Yeah.
why don't we give them your email ID, and those who would like to get in touch with you, let them ask your question and you respond to them, because that is the best way that you will be able to help
My
them much
pleasure,
more.
my pleasure, Dr. Adil. Yeah.
So why don't you tell them what your email ID is and
Yeah,
they'll connect with you.
it's sinharajendrak@gmail.com.
Sinha Rajendra K@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
That's your go-to email. That's your go-to email to ask all the questions that you wanted to ask Dr. Rajendra Sinha in terms of what kind of financing are required and what can be done about it. So thank you very much, Rajendra ji. Thank you very much, Kaushiki. Amit, thank you very much. Aniket, thank you very much. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for investing the critical time that you have put in to be able to understand how do we really manage in the SME sectors this entire critical talent of people, because people continue to be as critical to the smaller organizations and the micro organizations as they are to the larger organizations. Complicated further by the challenge of their size, scale, and transitory nature of talent moving out from their companies, more critical for them. But we got some very good ideas, some very good thoughts, and here we have. Wishing you thank you very much, and thank you for your time invested. I hand you over back to Tarini.
Thank you, Dr. Malia. And thank you to all our panel members for such a knowledgeable panel discussion. And thank you, Dr. Malia, for driving the session so flawlessly. Thank you so much for joining.
The future belongs to those who believe in their dreams. A dream to create, a dream to grow and make a difference. And a billion dreams together weave the India story. A dream is powerful only when it is nurtured so that it can bloom into reality. SIDBI is proud to have been associated in nurturing an amazing ecosystem of entrepreneurship and innovation in India for the last 32 years.
Let us now conclude by the vote of thanks. May I now request Mr. Rajan Raje, CEO NICAM Solution and Chairman MSME Forum, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to please come on stage and deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tarini.
Thank you.
I'm indeed privileged to perform a very pleasant task of offering vote of thanks at the first virtual MSME Conclave, Empowering MSMEs. On behalf of Bombay Chamber of Commerce and on my own behalf, I extend my sincere thanks to our esteemed speakers, that is Mr. S. Raman, Chairman and Managing Director, Small Industries Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI, and Professor M.M. Sharma, Padma Vibhushan Professor M.M. Sharma, former Director, Institute of Chemical Technology. Also our esteemed panelists on day one, Mr. Mohan Deshpande, Mr. Biju George, Mr. Shailesh Sheth, or Advocate Shailesh Sheth, Mr. Ashok Bharat, Advocate Suhas Tuljapurkar, Nishit Gupta, Sanjay Mehta, and Preeta Misra. On the day two, Mr. Abhijit Ghorpade, Mr. Nikhil Patil, Mr. Mihir Shah, Mr. Dr. Akash Khobragade, Dr. Rajendra Sinha, Ms. Kaushiki Srivastava, Amit Sarda, and Aniket Malshe for honoring our request to grace this event with their presence and sharing their intuitive knowledge and expertise regarding the MSME sector. For day one, Mr. Srinivasan and Mr. D.P. Mishra, and for day two, Dr. Vinod Chopra and Dr. Adil Malia for driving this discussion so flawlessly as moderators. I take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to Ms. Anjali Bansal, founder Avana Capital and the president of Bombay Chamber, Mr. Nilesh Shah, group president and MD Kotak Mahindra AMC, and senior vice president, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I would also like to thank here Mr. Sandeep Khosla, who is the Director General of Bombay Chamber of Commerce, Sunil Nair, who is the Joint Director of Bombay Chamber of Commerce, Tarini Hattangadi, who is a part of MSME committee organization, my colleagues in the MSME committee, and the other support staff members of BCCI like Jayashri Arun, Mahadev Margi, Farida Khatib, Ganesh, and many others who made this conclave a wonderful possibility. This conclave was a small effort to create an awareness in the stakeholders for MSME members about the current and future challenges while conducting their businesses. We all know about the socio-economic importance of the MSMEs in Indian economy. But the fast developing Indian and global economy has necessitated an urgent need to adopt professional approach in the way all the businesses are conducted. As an MSME kind of the stakeholder myself, we have made sincere efforts to adopt these changes. I hence request all of us and hence all of us at BCCI made this effort of organizing this conclave to make all of you aware about these challenges. In the near future, we wish to extend our support to MSME members by way of offering a polyclinic to offer solutions to overcome these challenges. The polyclinic will have credible panel members and experts to offer proper advice to all of you. This entire conclave has covered the financial management, compliance, mediation, innovation, automation, marketing, that is social exports gem, infrastructure opportunities, HR in terms of acquisition and retention. And hence, to me, I mean, it gave me a great satisfaction as a chairperson of MSME committee that we could do something worthwhile for our community. I would also thank our sponsors, that is SIDBI and NICAM Solutions, for making this conclave possible. I will fail in my duty if I do not thank all directly or indirectly involved persons or people in making this event happen. Last but not, I thank the august audience, that is all of you, for making it such an important event. I look forward to more engaging sessions in the near future. Have a nice day. And thank you very much once again.